Have some news out of the sports world we want to get to now. Alex Sherman has that for us. Alex?
Yeah, SNY, which is the regional sports network that owns the Mets games, is potentially looking for a sale. The news should not come as much of a surprise because the ownership structure of SNY is somewhat bizarre. SNY is still controlled by the Mets' former owners. That is the Wilpon family and the Katz family, and minority stakes in SNY are owned by our parent company, Comcast, and Charter. It doesn't really make much sense that the old owners of the Mets still own the current regional sports network, but it speaks to the potential difficulties of a sale. It is possible that current owner Steve Cohen may be interested in buying the network, but regional sports networks have not been a great investment. All you need to do is look a few miles south to Manhattan at MSG Networks, which has been flirting with bankruptcy for over a year now, as more and more people cancel cable, cutting the cord on cable, which decreases the overall revenue that comes into the system. So we'll have to see if this ends up being a private equity play or if someone like Steve Cohen or another media company comes to the table and actually strikes the deal.
Do you think it's a coincidence that as we have this conversation, the Mets have the best record in baseball, I believe, which only makes the timing of this all the more interesting, don't you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, these deals take a long time. You'll need to come up with a buyer. The deal will need to be approved. The idea that something could get done for this season, may strain credulity. But look, Steve Cohen is going to be spending a lot of money on the New York Mets for many years down the road. So you'd have to imagine that the Mets will be a competitive team for years. They just signed Juan Soto to a very long-term, record-breaking contract. So they're in it to win. So that may be appealing to a buyer, knowing that the fan base will be there. One other note I should mention is that there's an interesting twist here with Comcast and Charter being minority owners. Comcast actually wanted to steer Yes Network, the owner of the Yankees games. And when I say tier, I mean place it on a sports tier that would force customers to pay more money to get Yes Network. It would no longer be baked into your standard bundle of cable networks. Yes Network said, hey, we're not going to go for that because you guys don't tier SNY, the Mets network. And why don't they tier SNY? Because they're a minority owner. So it's also possible that Comcast and Charter may want to get out of ownership of SNY so they can move forward with their cable strategy of placing regional sports networks on a more expensive tier of cable so that they can bring down the overall price of cable to stop millions and millions of people from canceling each year.
We'll see where it all goes. Alex, thanks for calling in, giving us your insight and the very latest there. Interesting story, of course.